Good evening, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Hope everyone out there is enjoying their holiday season. For those of us who have typically observed Christmas, there always comes a day, that day. And we all faced that day when we were kids. That day when we found out the so-called truth about Santa Claus. In my case, I remember that particular day back in second grade when I overheard a boy tell a girl the truth about Santa. A girl who had been a fellow believer like I had been up until that point anyway. Everything I thought I knew about Santa Claus changed in that instant. While I was surprised, I can't say that I was all that shocked though. In fact, it sure explained a lot of things about Santa that I was never able to quite figure out on my own at that age. Like how the handwriting on all the gift tags looked a lot like my mom's. And just how Santa could have possibly known about that one gift that I would always forget to mention when my parents took me to see him at the mall, but still somehow showed up under the Christmas tree anyway on Christmas morning. Things made a lot more sense now, sure. But I guess I can say I was still disappointed because I shortly realized that this revelation was only the beginning. I quickly figured out that the same truth probably applied to the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy too, and somehow knew that this was the first of many of those days that would pave the road to adulthood that I just wasn't ready to travel down yet. But it's one that every kid has to start down at some point before one could stay up and do things like stay up late every night and drive a car and eat their dessert before dinner if they wanted to and do all those other things that grown-ups do. Well, now that I knew the truth, I thought to myself, what do I tell my parents? And the answer to that question was nothing. I told myself I am not going to say a thing. Not because I was selfishly afraid that I wouldn't get presents anymore. Nothing like that. I remained silent because I didn't want them to experience the same kind of crushing disappointment that I did. Oh, how devastated they would be if I marched home and confronted them that I knew the truth about Santa. They'd be heartbroken. I just wouldn't be their dear little James anymore. I mean, every kid wishes they didn't have to be a kid when it came time to doing chores around the house or homework. But Santa? Every kid liked being a kid when it came to Santa. So, for both their sakes as well as my own, I said nothing of this revelation, and I let them believe that I still believed. As I grew up, though, I realized something. I realized that despite knowing the truth, I found I was still choosing to believe. And that I had never stopped, really. I mean, by this time in my young teenage life, I knew where babies and Christmas presents all came from. But unlike my friends and classmates, I choose not to disown the belief in the idea of Santa in my own heart. Of course, no teenage kid with fears of peer backlash would ever admit to that. So I kept to myself the notion that I like to lay in bed on Christmas Eve and still pretend that as I slept, jolly old Saint Nick still left that awesome array of gifts under the tree that my parents, sister, and I would find on Christmas morning. But why would any teenage kid or adult, I later asked myself, choose to hold on to such a childhood fantasy? And with that question came an immediate answer, or more precisely, another realization that perhaps we don't choose to still believe. Perhaps we still need to. Understand that when we were all kids, Christmas just kind of happened, right? Not quite all by itself, but it almost seemed like it. We were just swept up in it when the time came along. Dad would go out and buy a tree and haul it home and set it up to be decorated. And Mom would do most of the real work, like decorating, shopping, and cooking. And as kids, we ventured over the river and through the woods to Grandma's house because Dad's driving the car and we're in it. We just were swept along. We did nothing to make Christmas come about. We just got to enjoy it once it did. And enjoy it we did. But once we all grow up, Christmas doesn't just happen on its own anymore. We have to make it happen. We have to buy the tree ourselves. We have to dig out the decorations from the basement or attic or garage. We have to fight motor and pedestrian traffic at the shopping malls if we want to provide those presents that used to magically appear under the Christmas tree. We have to buy and prep and cook the holiday feast. We have to make all the travel arrangements if we're going to see our families over the holidays. It is the most wonderful time of the year, absolutely. But as adults, we have to spend a lot of effort to make it that way. So we do. Just like Santa did for us when we were younger. So how can we not believe in Santa Claus? We are Santa Claus. A need to believe in Santa, though, doesn't preclude that we also still don't want to. Santa provided us the kinds of Christmases that we cherished as children, establishing that high that we forever continue to chase as adults, motivating us to do everything we can to provide the same kinds of Christmases for our children. But it's not easy. With feuding family members and financial problems and time constraints and whatnot, planning a Merry Christmas can certainly be a challenge. If we wonder why Christmas might not seem as magical as it did when we were kids, we have to remember that it still can be. It's just up to us now to make it that way. And we have to believe we can do it and should do it, despite the struggles of adulthood that none of us had to face as kids. No one needs a reminder of the kind of world we live in. The world is a beautiful, wonderful, and special place, make no mistake. But it's also one with its very own real and very difficult set of problems. When we were kids, we didn't worry about nuclear annihilation. We didn't worry about getting robbed at gunpoint. We didn't worry about being victims of suicidal maniacs who crash airplanes into skyscrapers. These threats were always there, sure, but we didn't worry because we believed in good. And we believed in being good, even if there were those in the world who were not. And it wasn't just because Santa was making a list and checking it twice. We were good, well, for goodness sake. Today, sadly, these kinds of threats still remain. We can choose to dwell on such matters, worrying about things that are not within our power to change. Or we can focus on something that we can change and try to make the world a better place, even just a little bit, despite all of its troubles. Like, we can give a little more to a worthy charity, perhaps. Or we can do something special for someone we care about. Or something special for a total stranger. Or we can just spend more time with those close to us. You know, the kinds of things we typically do around Christmas, the signature holiday of Santa Claus. Santa, the very embodiment of the holiday spirit, that we were all so quick to abandon our belief in his kids, misguidingly thinking that disbelieving was somehow a step towards growing up, when in fact, we never needed to believe more than we do right now. So how about this? Let's make this day the one where another startling truth is presented to us. The truth that there is a Santa Claus. And there always has been. You see, we never really stopped believing or wanting to. We just thought we did. So, Merry Christmas, everybody, and may God bless us, everyone. Good night.